Hey guys, welcome to this Godot signals tutorial where we're going to be going through how to implement signals in Godot, or better known as the observer design pattern in general coding architecture. So how signals work is signals will have a listener where a node or a scene will listen for a signal, and then another one will define and emit a signal. So let's just start off this tutorial. We're going to create a very quick basic scene to just explain all of this. So I'm just going to create this project, Godot signals tutorial, and just create folder and create and edit. So we're going to set up this basic scene now. So we're going to start off with a 2D scene, and I'm going to rename this to game. And here we're going to add two different scenes, because what we want to do is we want to actually try and send signals between two different scenes instead of nodes within this game tree. So I know a lot of you have been asking about how to achieve this and how to do this, so I'm going to be showing you in this tutorial. So guys, if you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, please subscribe now, hit that notification bell so that you can get updates of more of these tutorials in future. So let's just go ahead and save this, and we'll call it game.tscn, and we're going to go create two new scenes. One is going to be an enemy scene, so we'll rename this to enemy, and this one will create a 2D scene and rename it to player. So for our player, we're going to just create a few nodes. So we're going to add a sprite. We're going to go and add a kinematic body 2D. And we're going to create a collision shape 2D. And then what we'll do is for our sprite, we're just going to use the default icon, which comes with every Godot project. For our collision shape 2D, we'll just go ahead and create a new rectangle shape 2D, and we will resize it to be about the size of this icon over here. So that'll be our player to start off with. We'll come back to do these scripts. Let's just save it as player.tscn, and then our enemy, we're going to do something similar, but what we want to do is create a sprite. And we're going to create an area because we want to put the player within the area of view for the enemy, and then have our enemy notify us that it has seen the player. So we're going to add the sprite, and again we'll just use the icon, and then we'll also add an area 2D, and we will add a collision shape 2D again. And then we'll draw a rectangle shape 2D. At this time we're going to make it quite large because we want to use this as a detection area. So save that and call it enemy. So in our game node or our game scene, we're just going to bring these in. So we'll just drag them in here. And what I'm going to do is just move our player out here and our enemy out here, and then I'm just going to place our player within the view scene or the view area of our enemy. So just to start demonstrating how signals work, so the signal we can connect via the default node signals we can use to detect that the player has actually entered this area. And then later in this tutorial, we'll use code to connect these two scenes together so that the player will know that the enemy has actually spotted the player. So let's go ahead and just create two scripts. So right click over here and create a new script, one called enemy and one called player. So we'll write these scripts very soon. We're just going to first just test this out by connecting these nodes together so that they can notify each other just via the normal node signals. So to do that, what we'll do is we'll go into the enemy and we'll go into the area 2D. So we first of all need to attach our script. So let's just attach it to the enemy root node over here. So drag enemy in there. And then on area 2D, we want to go over to node and we want to go into body entered. Connect it to this root node over here and it'll generate this bit of code for us. So here we're just going to say print player close to enemy. So it'll print there, and then we're going to run this, and then we're going to see if it actually is going to pick this up. So we'll just choose game.tscn, and you'll see that it prints player close to enemy because our player is within the view range of our enemy. So now the next thing we want to do is we want to look at how we can connect the signal via code, or these Godot signals via code, and then also have them do that between scenes and in multiple directions as well. So to do that, we're going to just go and modify our scripts. So for our enemy to be able to notify our player that it has been spotted, I'm just going to remove some of this out of here because it's messy, and we're going to define a signal called player spotted. And then when it does enter this body area 2D method, we're going to just emit a signal and we're going to call player spotted. So now if we connect our player to this signal, we will be able to pick up that the enemy has actually seen our player, and you could apply any form of events with this. You could play different music which is more intense where the enemy is chasing the player. You could use it to have patrolling players actually know about the, or patrolling enemies knowing about the player and then chasing the player, or you could notify other enemies in your scene to start pursuing the player as well. So there are many applications to what you could use this for. So let's go and modify our player script now. So again, I'm going to get rid of most of this over here. And then in our player script, what we'll do is we connect our enemy node. So to get our enemy node, we'll just declare a var, and we'll just call this enemy node, and we'll get our tree, and then we'll get the root of our tree, and then inside that we'll find the node called enemy, and we will pass in true to make it recursive, and false just to make sure that it is not owned by this particular object. And what we want to do is we want to go ahead and connect the player spotted signal. So we'll just have player spotted in here, which came from this enemy GD script over here. And then we're going to just apply it to self, which is the player at the moment, which it's attached to. And then we'll just create a method to handle this. So I'll just call this handle player spotted. So in order for this to be connected, we now need to just define a function or a method called handle player spotted. And then we're just going to say similar, just print here, enemy has spotted me. So let's run this and see if it's going to output this to the output over here. So it's player close to me. So the reason is we didn't attach our script to our player. So let's just go over here, and then in our inspector we want to attach our player script, and let's give that another go. So now you see that the enemy has spotted me and the player is close to the enemy. So we've done a bi-directional signal, so where the enemy is notifying the player that it's been spotted, and basically the enemy has also picked up from the signal from the player that it has entered its area of view. So some other things we can do with this, and I just want to show this in this tutorial as well, because this is a Godot signals tutorial, and I just want to go into a little bit more depth. So what you sometimes may want to do is pass some arguments in your signals so that you could maybe pass a message or a state through to change the state within your game. Maybe you want to use a FSM, a finite state machine within your game, and then you want to affect that, or you just want to change the health of a player or whatever, but then you need to pass values in through your signals. So to do that, that's quite simple. So we're going to just go over to the GD script, and I'm just going to pass some random values in here. So I'm just going to say, let's see, what can we put in here? Maybe I'll just say player in area, just a string, and another one just to show you that you can have multiple of these. And then I'm going to say a player is Godot player, and let's just pass in a value of 1, and let's give these variable names now in our handle method. So here we'll say, let's just call this P1, P2 and P3, and then we can go and print these. So print them, P1, print P2 and print P3. So if we run this now, you'll see that all three of those messages have been pushed through the signal, and we can now access them within our player scene. So that's how you can basically go about accessing different scenes in your game after you've instantiated them, and then having signals actually send messages back and forth between different scenes or nodes within your games. So that's basically it. That's the end of this Godot signals tutorial. I hope it has been useful, and I hope you can start using this in your games. The observer pattern is extremely useful in Godot because of the way scenes work. It's not easy to just reference a scene by just looking at the node and then going and getting variables. So what it would do is it would avoid global variables which you would typically put into singletons, but there is another way of doing this as well. This is the most basic form. What you could as well do is, instead of having these players and enemies, you could have a child node called event, and your event node will basically hold your signals. So it'll live as an intermediate between player and enemy and any other scenes in between. So let's just, as a very quick example before we end this tutorial, rename this to event. And in this event you could create a script which defines all these signals. So you could put all your signals into that event, and then you could like pass signals between player and enemy through this event node. So that will allow you to centralize your signals, and you wouldn't have to have all these signals all over the place which aren't really visible, and then you can manage it a lot easier within your project as soon as it gets a lot bigger. So guys, that's just one tip for you to just try out and go test yourself. But yeah, that's now the end of this tutorial. I hope it's been good for you. If you liked it, please do like the video below and subscribe to the channel with notifications on so that you can get notifications of new videos in future. Thanks a lot for watching. Cheers.